Hello everybody, my name is Troublemaker, and this is round 6 of the Wargame Cup. I have a match today by one of the scariest players in the tournament, and his name is Delta. He's scary because he's quite high rated, he's quite respected in the community, and he just does really well. It looks like he's going to go for a helicopter all-in with the little command helicopter here to kind of run away with. And his opponent, Univ3rse, is going for something a little closer to being standardized, except he has some heavy tanks. Heavy tanks are quite expensive, as you can see, 145. And when you lose them, you almost lose the game. They're kind of one of those units that are just something you should avoid. Usually when people use heavy tanks, they use like one, and usually on the pact side, it's like a T80, and yeah, on the NATO side, it's usually that Leopard 2A, but he doesn't really have a lot of anti-air units either. He has some Vulcans. Vulcans are not quite effective against this tactic. You actually need to have some really potent rocket-based weaponry that's going to have very good range. And this will be a challenge. He's going to have 2 helicopters flying forward. It'll be interesting to know when exactly he sees this. Now, actually, I misread Delta quite a bit. He's not going for exactly an all-in. He's going to have 2 commands, which kind of implies it's not going to be totally all-in. It looks like he's going to have a little bit of fun with his opponent. There are a lot of infantry coming up. He's got a lot of helicopters, but he doesn't have the recon helicopter, which is very key for the all-in. And looks like he's going to bring this command helicopter over to Baraxia. And his other command will be going to Charlie. I'm really interested to see what he does. He is a top competitor in the game, and very scary. It's not a very cut clear all-in. In fact, he's going to go and try and snipe units with this, and he's kind of starting to show his hand a bit. His opponent should be reacting fairly fast. Has to get that commander into this India location. Hopefully he has banked enough points to really make something of this. We have lots of infantry running forward. We have Delta bringing some Delta force around the back. And these, the transport helicopter is going to go down. He probably can't see the Delta force in there. Nope. So just trying to pick off what he can with these helicopters, and he got one of the Delta Force in this Huey, and we'll get the Fusiliers, so that's pretty good. And he's going to dump all the way back here, completely circumventing. Does Univ3rse see this? No, he does not. Not really good vision there with that Bradley. It's paratroopers. Pretty scary. We saw MK20 coming to intercept, and these Gazelles are just going to be used around the map, looks like, for control. And it's pretty expensive. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of units other than that. We have a few infantry trying to run forward, wanting to get this key town location, and if he can take this town, a lot of good things will go for him, but it looks like he's not going to be able to get. There's just too many Weasel MK20s. It's too much, period. And truthfully, if Delta would have just all in, he probably would have won. So he's going to try and pick off whatever he can here. Most of these units are going to be lost. The fact that there's a Delta squad here is going to give Univ3rse really great vision here, and yeah, everything's just going to die. All the while, we do see a lot of artillery from these OPs going to hit these Jaggers. There are quite a few Jaggers here too, so Univ3rse should get a fairly big lead from this. Delta squad is getting pummeled, however, from the Cobras who are coming into support, and it's a lot of units here, and somehow Delta is kind of making this work. That loss put him 30 behind, and there's only 3 units left in this Jagger squad, or 31, sorry. He's pushing forward, though, just creeping through these buildings, but he's getting slowly chopped apart. Trying to get close enough to his Delta squad. Killing the Delta squad might be worthwhile. It's hard to say, but so far he's at such a massive loss. Currently about 100 points behind, and fortunately his opener doesn't seem to have as many legs as it ought to. The Jaggers will get picked off. There's just too many Fusiliers. Delta Force here. We some MK20s. Not really firing, though. And a lot of stun vehicles. And actually, okay, we some MK20s are now firing this flank here. We see some infantry rushing in from Delta, again, trying to hit a side flank here. So you'll be hitting from 2 directions. He has a third infantry coming in from around the back. What he tries to do with this, I don't know. I'm just really curious. A group of infantry are running up for Univ3rse, and looks like everything's going to get picked off. everything will die, and Univ3rse is in such a massive lead. It's hard to believe this is Delta playing, but here comes another infantry moving around the back, trying to snipe out the Ophi. He could get the Ophi. That would be huge. It would not put him back in the game, but it would be such a huge win if he can do that. The command is trying to move away into a safer location, and most of this attack has been cleaned up, but here comes the TPC, folks. The Ophi's getting pulled back immediately. Very, very good. Stun hits the infantry, and looks like these infantry are going nowhere. A relatively failed opening here by Delta. Univ3rse successfully defending all this and really showing that he belongs in this tournament. That he's not just on a scrub. And a scrub ain't gonna get no respect from me. So where can Delta go with this? I mean, he's getting a third command? Is that really? Like, only Delta, you know, it's one of these weird things. He's basically lost the opening. He's 400 points behind. That's a massive, massive loss. And really, the game is for Univ3rse to win. He has such a huge lead on the amount of money he has to spend. He has such a massive unit lead. He's got so many more units than his opponent. He has so many options he can do. He can get an extra command. He could build an army and just crush his opponent. But Delta's going for a big risk here. He's going to get an extra command and kind of hope that his opponent just doesn't all in. And truthfully, that's kind of the play you have to do. If your opponent, who just got crushed in a 400-point loss, gets another base, you kind of have to just push in against them. You probably will just kill him. And really, all Delta has going from is he has these helicopters, these gunship helicopters. And so we're going to have to see what he does. Martyr 1 trying to intercept, but the Cobra just gets away. And it looks like the Martyr 1 will get picked off in the open. Panic running away. Both are at 50% health. Need to get a... And here he goes. He's actually just going to push ahead. Delta pulling back the command over, realizing bad choice. There is an AMX-32 on the side here. These are actually relatively easy to kill. They're not particularly well armored. And he's going to try and micro his heart out. One of the nice things about them is very, very long range, and you can mic them against everything. But there is a heavy tank here. Heavy tank, of course, could put Delta back in the game. In fact, Delta catching up relatively easy here. Getting a few key hits there with these helicopters, and the Vulcans are coming up, and suddenly the helicopters are not going to be so good. There's a lot of Lod Stingers out here. Not that I disapprove of that at any point, but yeah, these Chaparrals are going to be the clear, decisive choice. All the while, VAB coming across the map by Delta. He's trying to corner some of these units here. The really, really heavy Leopard is just not in a good position right now. And the VAB might be successful killing off this Vulcan. That would be a pretty stinging blow. No, he's actually going to move out in the open. The Martyr 1 and the Martyr VTSI are both now able to target. All the while, we have a Martyr 32. We're going to try and target down some of these vehicles, which are now visible, by the way. There are some chasseurs, unfortunately caught right in the open. And they're trying to retreat, but I mean, you can only run so fast. You're not going to beat a tank. Want to get back to some of this cover location, this precious cover location. You should probably split up these chasseurs so that they can get maximum cover. And Univ3rse is going to pull back a little bit. He's still 300 points ahead. The game is his to win. Delta looks like he's going to move his command helicopter, actually, across the map and try to find a unique place for it. With this command helicopter, he is going to be able to get more points than he would with a normal helicopter. And how that works. Sorry about that interruption. So might relate to this game, might not. I have 4 dogs. It's a lot of dogs. Get the names right. Bobby's the biggest, but the most harmless. Doug is the smallest, but potentially the most vicious. Schnitzel's a mid-size and quite vicious himself. And then Schneider is mid-sized and kind of goofy. Everyone but Bob is a dachshund, so quite vicious animals. The girlfriend drops cookies on the floor. They go after them. Schnitzel can't eat his cookie, though. He is toothless. However, he's quite vicious. He's not completely toothless, just has problems eating. So Bob comes over to sniff it. Schnitzel attacks Bob. Doug rushes and attacks Schnitzel. Schneider, who's goofy, thinks they're playing, also attacks Bob. So in order to get them all apart, 4 dogs had to be pinned, requiring a second hand. So I pinned Schnitzel and Doug. The girlfriend pinned Bob and Schneider. And then after getting rid of them all was fine. That's what interrupted some Wargame action. So about this helicopter command, there's really not a lot of uses in the game for helicopter command. Big maps like this, it's actually particularly good because you can sometimes use it for extra points. It's hard to make it worthwhile, and you can place it in weird spots. Like if you place it right here at the 4-point place, just on the edge, he could grab an extra, 20, 30 points. But you got to keep in mind this helicopter command is valued at 240, so it's something that has to be used and held quite effectively. It looks like he's actually going to go for what? Maybe he's going to go for Juliet and try and spawn some troops here. Possible. It's an odd unit. It's not often that's very useful. And paratroopers going to try and rush forward. Looks like Delta is getting a little bit on the desperate side here. This was, of course, one of these key units that could have been used later on in the game. But he has apparently gone for now. He does have some recon supporting, but really that's just not enough. He needs a fairly sizable force to deal with this. Just too many Weasel MK20s. These Vulcans are also very, very good against infantry and recons, and he's going to pull the other recon back. He realizes that was a mistake, and so he kind of just gave up some units there. Helicopter command, not really doing anything right now. I mean, a lot of top players have been kicked out of the tournament, so it's very, very possible that Delta could get kicked out here. He's 300 points behind, and we're seeing Univ3rse just playing really well, playing some good standard play. There's some minor inconveniences in his strategy. For example, he doesn't have any supply trucks out front where they're most needed. He's going all the way in the back where it's least needed. He is respawning this chaparral, which is very, very important, very key, but he just doesn't have enough supply trucks right now. He realistically needs about 6 or 7 on the map. Just doesn't have them. He's not getting them. He's actually just restocking armies. That means that a lot of these units will go down. It would be very unimportant except for things like these Martyr VTSIs. You can't really replenish these. You only get like 5 or 6 of them, right? And then you can't get new ones. So that's kind of an issue. At this point in the game, whatever units he loses, he probably won't be getting back. And that's just the choice of the deck. And from the distance, you see this overpowered Bradley CFV will be firing on top of these Martyr VTSIs. Looks like Delta trying to do a little bit of rush with these very overpowered units. No veterancy on these, so their accuracy will not be quite as good as something like, say, Bent Guru would do. But he's just going to use these Martyr VTSIs to pick off whatever he can. There is an armored vehicle here. It cannot go anywhere. It's completely out of fuel. He, of course, should be going through the CFE, which is, of course, pulling back right now, which is kind of odd, and is also very low on fuel. And this push can actually do quite a bit of damage. There's actually a Leopard 2 A4, which should be running away right now. And just slow down. Heavy tanks. So if you look at the heavy tank, you'll notice maximum range 2275. Just keep that number in your head, because when you go to the Martyr VTSI, 1925. So what does that mean? That means that a heavy tank is going to be able to counter its counter by micro. It has to move away as it's moving forward, though, and that's very, very key. Univ3rse is very aware of this. He's doing this right away, but as these Martyr VTSIs are closing in, he's got to worry about these heavy tanks. Because of this kind of stipulation, though, that you're moving away, it also means that any kind of like non-open fields like this, barriers, are going to be big problems. In fact, actually, Delta able to capture both supply vehicles, and could this be the end of his damage? That's a good question. Martyr VTSIs might take out the Bradley. They do. That's a pretty big deal. And he's now only down 200 points behind, so he's picking up points where he can. I mean, his bold and odd approach just didn't really work out for him, unfortunately. And in fact, he does have the helicopter command spawning some infantry, going to hit from the back. That's kind of scary. And it's not really a flank that Univ3rse is exactly prepared for. There's nothing in the woods here. He's not really preparing for any kind of back attack, which can definitely happen, and I know will happen. Not because I watched the game, because I haven't, but because there's units going through there. And nice little flanking here by Delta. You can see, like, it's something you don't really think about a lot in this game. But when you go to the unit information tab, you'll notice that they have armor for different areas, and actually the top armor is very weak on these destroyers, so that's something to consider. Top, of course, being hit from above. Leopard 2A4 finally in a good position. You can note It's a giant open area, and if anything just try and squeeze through here, the leopard would just gun it down in a heartbeat. Wolfie gonna fire off. Command armor was out of place for some reason for Univ3rse, and he lost golf for a second there. I'm not sure why. That's interesting. Potentially how the comeback might have happened for Delta. And he's moving up his martyrs. There is artillery trying to hit them off, and it's kind of a dire situation here for Delta. He really has to make this work. He doesn't have any anti-air here at all, not a single one. So any kind of air vehicle that Univ3rse can deploy will be very potent. But the martyr VTSI is moving up. Going to try and hit the supply vehicle first. The supply vehicle, of course, was actually pretty important because it was absolutely necessary for refueling up all of this useless stuff. And because all the stuff is useless now, that is, it's out of fuel, it really can't kite away. He's going to try and move it a little bit, but that's just going to make a lot of openings. The martyr VTSI is looking like they're going to try and wipe at this martyr 1. And all the while, Delta Force is kind of crawling. Here comes the move of a desperate man, but he is creating a little bit of a flank here. Delta Force able to get a shot off, a freebie shot. Didn't really do any damage, but it did add some morale damage. Morale damage is important. And very, very aware of just how vulnerable these tanks are. Looks like Univ3rse is going to try and move them to the south at a very weird angle, and I don't think it'll get picked off. I think they have too much armor for just one martyr VTSI, and he will successfully pick off both martyr VTSIs. And the remainder of Delta's army is going to rush forward. I don't suppose it'll do much because there is 2 martyrs coming. He gets a pot shot off at the OFI, which I'm informed is in fact the AUF-1. Bloody game and not being able to tell the difference between an I and a 1. Unless this is not the VTSI but the VTS-1. It's ridiculous though, right? Oh god, it's the truth, isn't it? Oh god! I'll continue calling them VTSI. You can still call them VTSI. Only people who know the difference are military buffs, which is like half the game. And, you know, 1 going down so far. And this one is almost dead. There's only 1 hit point left on it. A nice little helicopter spawned by Univ3rse, and that's exactly the unit choice he needed here. With this helicopter, he's going to be able to take care of all this stuff. And everything that's trying to retreat won't be so successful. Nice little helicopter. Success patrolling the skies. But whoa, we have a Cobra coming in. Actually, 2 Cobras. And note, one of them is heavily injured. So he might be able to kill this Cobra with his Cobra. It might be a trade. Level 2, however. And wow, not even getting a single shot off. The 2 Cobras of Delta pick off another target. Now 150 point difference. The Shasters are still slowly rushing forward through the jungle. Not quite good. And what's going on over here? Nothing just yet, but it does give Delta no vision at all. There is a Weasel MK20 here. Doesn't quite know about it, and if he was Russian, he would fail. Interesting, a little Chasseur got through here, and he's actually getting very, very close to this command armor, and or this OFI. Either one, really. The OFI, of course, can defend itself and will be able to kill off this Chasseur if it gets in range. So that's not too threatening, but the fact that that the Delta's punching through like this is kind of scary. He's getting 4 of these Leopard 1A1s, probably out of anti-tank options, truth be told. And he's actually going to get another commander, so it would be a 4th commander on the map. He has mostly secured this Foxtrot location. Possible he might try and put it here. Keep in mind, there is some Saracens and Fusiliers here. Of course, you know, he doesn't know about this. And a lot of what he's doing right now is quite risky. And it looks like he's going to place these Chasseurs on this point here, and he will, in fact, try to grab this Foxtrot. So, I mean, put it into perspective, in Foxtrot's mindset, he's behind, he's slightly catching up, he's done some damage, but he needs to really get back in the game. The only way for him to do that is to expand, get more resources, and beat his opponent on economy. You have to remember that this entire game, Univ3rse has only been on 2 bases. He's had tons of room to expand, and he's kind of lost that opportunity. In fact, Delta, if he takes this Foxtrot base, which looks like he will, is actually going to be creating a flank around this golf location. In fact, that's really what he's done, because if he can't move it here, there's a base here. He can attack here. That's possible. He's got to be very aggressive, though. He can't move here. It's really too far away. And if you look at this map, you'll note that these 2 points are quite close to each other. But this is a long path. And that means you got a lot of places to defend against. A lot more anyway. A few we sell toes. This is a nice little grouping of units. The only weakness, of course, is going to be anti-air units. Or air units, I mean. Just because there's no anti-air here, period. And rushing at these leopards. The we cells, of course, are the big damage dealers. Their tow rockets do insanely well. But they've been picked off mostly by this leopard 2A4. And Univ3rse taking another sizable lead. 300 points ahead. As all these attacks just continue to fail from Delta. It's hard to think that this guy is actually one of the scarier players in the tournament. And a lot of units. A lot of infantry. A lot of mods out of ATSIs coming out. Univ3rse not really preparing for any kind of attack, though. I mean, none of these units, except for the martyrs, are really going to be potent on an attack. And you got to note that there's really not a lot out there for Delta. And here comes the 4 infantry running right into the we cell MK20s. This shouldn't do any damage. Yes, and in fact, Univ3rse is paying attention. He's going to vacate these woods, bring the we cell MK20 into a nice support position, probably like right here, maybe. And that way he can fire at the chasseurs as they get into the woods. There's really not much of a big threat here. He's going to pull a few infantry, and he's actually going to use his helicopter to pick off some of these vehicles. Yes, he's going for the vehicles. The vehicles are stunned, and looks like they will probably go down. So another field push here by Delta. And, whoa, don't get too close there, Univ3rse. Come on, big boy. Oh, and in fact, loses the Cobra, getting too close. And small victory, major victory, actually, it turns out. Delta kind of still in this. He's only 100 points behind now. If he can dump these infantry, and he does, 30 Yaugers are deployed. That's more than he can deal with, and boom, that's one more gone. He's only 100 points behind. Infantry moving in to try and support this group of Saracens, and looks like it's just going to instantly get taken out by these Yager units with their frag grenades. A big stun here happened, and these vehicles, there's a Fusilier squad here, only 10 of them though. Gets rid of the TPC Fuchs. The Yagers are actually all wiped out by artillery, so very good focus fire, preemptive almost by Univ3rse, and lots of infantry coming out here for Delta. It's on the ropes. I mean, he has a lot of bases right now, and that means he's got a lot of income, but realistically, he's not in a good position. There's so many vulnerable bases here. Any moment, Univ3rse can just come in and kill him, but he just hasn't. He's just been defending a lot of pushes, very uneasy. It's round 6, so it's kind of presumed that the opponents in the tournament are going to be pretty vicious. He pulls out a Gazelle helicopter, and I think he's trying to find an angle to get into the squad, maybe. Hard to tell. Maybe a Weasel MK20 is going to try and pick up these Yagers. Don't get too close, though. The Yagers get one of the Weasel MK20s, might get a second one as well. These Yagers are one veterancy, and suddenly things are going crazy. Weasel MK20s, Martyr VTSIs all rallying out, and trying to move away from this circle here. All the while, on this other flank here, we have a major push coming out by Delta, trying to create a multi-flank attack in an attempt to get one of these command kills. And Univ3rse is still 200 points ahead, getting small amounts of kills. The TPC Fuchs are going to get this Vulcan, no doubt, if they can just stay in the woods. All the while, on this flank, the Weasel MK20s chasing down the command armor, followed by these Martyr VTSIs, and there's a total vacating here by Univ3rse. He's playing very defensively. He's still 200 points behind. He's now a lot of bases behind, however, and there's a complete surround here by Delta, who's really made a huge comeback. Trying to take positions all around, make it so there's no place for this command armor to go. The Martyr VTSIs continue to push forward, however, with the we cells supporting. The TPC Fuchs are shut down, will not be able to act as the most important buffer of the game, and this should die. This one veterancy Martyr VTSI should die, should not survive. But I don't know, man. It's getting really bad for Delta. He might be winning in points, but he's not winning in tactics, and that's really where it's important right now. Looks like Delta's going to try and avoid this little village of death best he can. All the while, we have a few units moving forward. No real anti-air here, however, so these Cobras are going to be very effective. We're going to be able to pick off a lot of units. Delta pulling back very quickly, not wanting to lose too much, and in fact, a route right into an infantry. The TPC Fuchs should die. Possibly this Weasel MK20 as well. And this is one of the random elements of the game. People will scatter in different orders, and the French players are getting some shots off, but looks like he will in fact get away. Not without a huge fuel cost, however. And so he's got this nice power combo with the recon and the helicopters. And here comes some helicopters from Delta. We have some Gazelle cannons joining the fray, and they should be able to deal relatively effectively with these Cobras. All the while, whoa. Univ3rse is moving his command armor into a weird position on the map. The chasseurs are in a position, and does Delta see this? He sees this. He's moving the chasseurs into position to try and kill off his command armor. The command armor is getting moved, but will move in time. The chasseurs fire off some rockets, and boom. That's kind of game ending. Delta only 80 points behind now. He's engaging the helicopter versus helicopter duels, and this is really the big four-suing battle, and it looks like Delta's Gazelles will in fact go down in this little helicopter duel. Spear range does matter, and both will go down. The command armor of Delta is going to move to the hotel. This looks like from Foxtrot. He's going to use this very aggressively. He wants to attack using this road over here. By the way, I'm missing whole kinds of action, but it's all important right here. Artillery is going to pound on this location, forcing the VAB to move as well as all these units. And this is crunch time here for Univ3rse. He's been playing very well this entire game, but maybe the pressure is hitting him, man, because this is getting bad. He's gone from a 500-point lead to almost losing. The 3 OFIs, that's a lot of OFIs, hitting this woods location, killing a lot of units. And there's 10 minutes left in the game. He has a 100-point lead. And really, Delta has to kill the command armor. He can still win on points. That's still an option. But really, if he wants to win the game, he has to kill this command armor. A frontal attack against a player who's turtling will generally go in the favor of the turtle. Truest story ever told. Possibly. So a VAB gonna move forward. Looks like he's just gonna use this as a spot with the army's up to. And I mean, he sees the PCs, that's good, but he doesn't see this massive army in the way. Now, what do we have coming out here? Some Roland 2. That's not really the choice unit at this point. And Univ3rse still 130 points ahead. It's all going to come down from a final attack, a final key offensive here from Delta. And if he can pull that off, that is one of the biggest comebacks of the tournament. Chasseurs pushing forward, actually going to do significant damage, kills off a lot of squads there, and the VAB PC is a very vulnerable location. Artillery going to hit this chasseur, which has been really unknown and really underused most of this tournament. He's going to deploy a lot of units in a defensive position around the VAB PC. He realizes this is completely a defensive game. He also realizes that a lot of options are available for all-ins from Delta. We are now 100 points behind for Delta. He's got to make these up. He needs a big push. He needs something that can do damage to stay in this tournament. The OFI is getting more supply and will continue firing. Really, if it can kill the VAB PC, that's huge. And a consideration when you're in this position is to hide your command armor in the woods or somewhere with supply vehicles. The supply vehicles will actually heal up those damage losses, and you won't die to random artillery fire. And this is a very key mistake that's been happening a lot in the tournament. A good guy to watch for keeping his commands alive is actually Tiga. It's actually impressive. His vehicles might take like 100 hit points of damage throughout the game, and they still somehow, some way, manage to survive. So small moves here by Delta, really a lot of what he can afford. And he's got a lot of bases. He's just really got to make something happen. He has one AMX-32, a Yager in the woods here. Going to try and push this as forward as possible. Wants to get a lot of these units. And in fact, here we go. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Univ3rse is going to pull into the woods. He's got supply vehicles available. And he's going to use a nice turtling location. He has Weasel MK-20s, which are great close-range anti-air units. A Chaparral. Looks like it's, at a rocket. It's not good. And it's going to get picked off. And he's got to pull the CFV away. He does. Artillery fire, however, might get it. Doesn't. And he's just pulling into the woods. Very smart. Fusiliers should be positioned in such a way that they can intercept. They should not be in the open. And it's anybody's game still. 200 points. 200 points. That's all it takes. And we have 4 infantry coming in through the woods for Delta. And the VAB PC is in a very good position for him to actually be able to kill this with this small group of units. And actually, this is very bad. With the Weasel MK-20s, not going to be very effective against the infantry. This is actual trouble. And he's got the recon helicopter coming in. He spots this coming. He's got to react fast enough. He's got to pull away. He's got to survive 5 more minutes. That's a long time when you are trying your hardest not to die. And Looks like the AMX Roland 2 is going to fire on this helicopter, and the helicopter does, the group of helicopters go down. There is still a recon helicopter. The VABPC is, oh my god, running straight into the infantry. He's going to continue doing this little game, though, and the game here is simple. Don't lose anything. He's 200 points ahead. The command armor has to survive. This is very tense. Very slow, very particular movements here by Delta. He's not freaking out. He's not just pushing all his units. He's very calculated with what he's doing. And here we go. The infantry are slowly creeping forward. And there's really not enough here to actually deal with this. This could be the big game decider. There's a little bit of a distraction in the back here. The Gazelle sliding in and is killed off. The VABPC, oh my god, it's in range of the TPC Pooks. The VABPC gotta run away. It should turn off its guns to be more invisible than it currently is, but it's not. The TPC Pooks, the augers are deployed, and it's gotta keep moving. It's gotta get in range of this supply truck. The supply truck's gotta stop being routed, and it's gotta resupply its VABPC. All the while, we still, MK-20s, are moving in position. The mortar carrier does have guns, and losing this will not be too big of a deal. He's actually gonna pull everything away. So he's not even gonna engage us. He's just gonna find a new position. And keep in mind, with all this intense stuff, it's only taken 30 seconds to deploy this group of units. He's still got to run away for 4 more minutes. He's kind of in a corner right now. It's kind of scary. There's a recon here. Won't kill the VABPC, but possible it could do a lot of damage. The mortar carrier, not really doing anything. It has some units of sorts. And, I mean, what kind of units is he getting? Oh my god, he's got 2 helicopters coming in. And he can use these to pick off the command vehicle as it tries to exit the woods. It's a small, slow, creepy units. He is moving his units slowly forward and trying to push the VABPC into the open. He wants this so bad because once it's in the open, he can pick it off with a number of vehicles. And the Cobra is actually going to go for this Bradley CFV right off the bat. Just wanting to get rid of any vehicle that's on the map. And this is very close. He's getting a lot of his units restocked from this MD Jupiter, so he should be able to fend off these Yaggers and these TPC Pooks, but he really doesn't look like he has enough units on the field to actually defend everything. Kind of a sketchy situation. He's going to run his VABPC right into the Yager, and the Yager's right-clicking on it, and that's it. Univ3rse eliminated from the tournament with a score of 3,200 to 2,700. One of the closest games yet. And Delta lives to die another day. My name is Troublemaker. Thank you guys for watching. See you again tomorrow.